So whatever you can have that will cater to certain types of physical disability will be helpful if you can't just change out, the whole entire building.
Who's this? Oh, you're an entrepreneur? Oh, you're a real estate investor. Oh, you're trying to learn from those who did it. Well, come into the lab then. Put your white coat on, gloves on, notepad, and let's build, y'all.
If I knew what I know now,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I would have touched a medical school with a 10-foot pole. hmm
Yeah. You
Because
know.
it
Go ahead.
ties you up for a long time unless you
Mm-hmm.
happen to get in the right mix of people that are thinking outside of the medicine box. You're
Mm-hmm.
stuck in medicine.
Mm,
The mentality is very confining in medicine.
yeah.
hmm
Well, you know what it is too, right? And this is why I love the podcast because we're gonna flow right into it, right? The thing is, humans have this nature of what's called the sunk cost bias, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And that kicks in even more when you went to school for a decade. It's harder to say, hey, I think I'm going to change. And the problem is, it's human nature to want change, right? One of the things is we change and evolve as humans. But the problem is when you've been devoted to one sector and that's all you know, and you've put in all that money, it's even harder. So that's what the sunk cost bias is, because I went through all this, therefore I might stick with it. I think that's probably what it is. There's more of a stick effect. Would you agree? I mean, you're more qualified than I am.
Completely. Completely. And then there's the illusion. It's not an illusion, it's real, but to me it's an illusion because, doctors make certain salary ranges, and once you've spent all that time and then you get to where you're making that money, you are the human capital. I think that's one of the things I don't like with medicine. Like, it's you. The day you don't work, it's the day you don't make money. Like, I mean,
Mm,
with even as an entrepreneur, you have to work to whatever, but there are other things you can do where the thing you've created is making you
the
money.
product, yeah, the
Yes,
engine. We're trying to
yes.
build an engine. Yeah, I
With
mean, it's
medicine, it's you.
yeah,
The day you croak, that's the day your bank account stops rolling.
yeah. Do you mind if I share something with you that Dr. Myron Golden shared? That's
Please,
Dr.
yes.
Via PhD. You know Dr. Myron Golden?
I've heard that name, but
Okay.
I don't think, yeah.
Wise. He's like one of my mentors.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he says, and this is fascinating because I've never thought about it this way. He's like, the reason why the average person thinks things are expensive is because they trade their time for money. And therefore, because they trade their time for money, when they're looking at buying something, they're like, hold on, I just spent 2 days of my life to be able to purchase this. So then they start evaluating things based on how much time their life was spent to get the thing. That's why everything seems expensive, because it's relative to the amount of time of their lives that they spent to get it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The entrepreneur, or, and I'm not all entrepreneurs, but they should just to kind of level set, whether it's a creator, an entrepreneur, or someone's creative, gets paid according to their ability to be creative.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's interesting is that when you think of that, well, what does that really mean? It means that whether I'm paying for AirPods or a new phone or a pen, I can create an offer. And when I create an offer, my creativity is what pays for the things that I want.
Mm-hmm.
So a phone or a car or a house or a pen or a mouse are all relative to the creativity I was able to make. So when I build a product or when I build an offer, it's based on creativity, and that's how I'm paid, not by exchange of my time. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's very fascinating because there's a very different relationship in the way we value money and time with respect to who's operating in the driving seat. Is it the person who's
Mm-hmm.
trading their time for money, or is it the person who's a creator and gets paid according to the creativity. And I thought that was
Mm-hmm.
fascinating because it's the same thing. Even if you're getting
Yeah.
paid to be the person, you're still, it's those shifts, it's those long nights, it's whether it's the surgery, it's whatever it
Yes.
is that took place, you still have to exchange your valuable time. It's still valuable
Mm-hmm.
and paid in high proportions, but it's still
Mm-hmm.
your life. It's not even time is money. It's
Mm-hmm.
time is your life.
Yeah, yes,
Isn't that
absolutely.
fascinating?
I agree 1,000%. I that is very insightful. So yeah, yeah, it's crazy. So
Look at
anyway,
us. That smooth transition into the podcast. So, here with Experiment Nation, I'm so happy to have you officially in the lab. That's right. We started recording a long time ago because it's a
oh
free
wow,
flowing conversation. You,
awesome,
this is
awesome.
not like a whole like, oh, no, we are here. This is what we do. And I want to level set though and give you the introduction that you deserve because, we met and this is why I don't take it lightly. It's like, you don't owe me anything. It's the fact that we're in the same, vibrating at the same frequency level. We came to the same place. We had the same intention. We wanted to learn. We wanted to connect with people. That's all that there was to it. And I'm like, of course, let's connect. Let's continue to do what we've already done. And what I mean by that is you and I were at the MTR Wealth Retreat where we had a group of like-minded individuals
Yes,
who are committed, not even interested, committed to getting more out of themselves, whether it was their own business, whatever it is personally. And usually I vibe with those people, and that's why we're here today because I vibe
yes,
with you. We had great energy, and then you said something that was really interesting about kind of what your mission is.
yes.
And I was like, oh, we need to tell your story. So I definitely want to level set and let you kind of tell our listeners. But most importantly, you're also local to our marketplace when it comes to SDR MTRs. You are getting experiments of your own, boots on the ground, hands on,
Yes,
like you're doing this, you're building it in addition to being a physician yourself, which is very remarkable and impressive because it's easy to just say, hey, you're hanging. It's funny that I'm wearing the lab coat here, but you can hang it and say, hey, listen, I've done this. I've achieved what is seen as, from where we come from, the epitome of them all. Like you reached it, you did it. But Ifoma, tell us why that's not enough and tell us a little bit about how that connects with your identity. And of course, welcome to the lab. What's going on? Talk to the people.
hey, thank you so much. Thank you, thank
Absolutely.
you, Ruben. Thank you so much for having me. Yes, we did meet at the NTR retreat about a month ago, roughly,
Crazy.
almost exactly a month ago.
Yep. Last
Yes,
year. Last year.
yes, in
You could say last
2023,
year.
yes, December. Yes, so yeah, that was where we connected. Like you said, like-minded individuals committed to just growing and learning
Mhm.
and doing more, and just expanding their beings as human beings. Yeah, so yes, as you said, I'm a family physician. I am based in the Atlanta metro area. I currently do administrative medicine. I did clinical medicine for a while, and then I transitioned to administrative medicine, meaning I do utilization management reviews for the company I work with. But all through, even in medical school, through work and everything, I sort of knew that I did not want to be stuck in the traditional medicine environment. I
Mm.
wanted to be able to do more. I wanted to be able to have other streams of income. And one of the things I was peripherally interested in was real estate because I come from that. My dad, was big time into real estate.
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah, yes, yes. So I just watched him, thinking in my head, oh my gosh, I don't think I'm cut out for business. I just don't want to do it. I just want to stay focused and, face my medical degree, take care of people and all that stuff. But medicine is changing
Mhm.
and changing rapidly. And, like we're just talking, in medicine, you're the human capital. And after a while, you just, either lose interest or just don't want to do it as much as you were doing it, before, but still want to maintain the level of financial status that you have as a physician.
Mhm.
So for me, it was really a natural transition to, to start looking into real estate seriously. And that's what I did about a year and a half ago. Yeah.
A year and a half ago. So that's incredible. So let me ask you, because I'm curious, right? And I hear about this a lot. And you know, I was actually just with my brother-in-law, and his father's a jeweler, and he's like, "No, I'm gonna become an engineer." Do you think the dynamic is more of, because I don't know, I feel like there's two extremes. It's either I do what my parents did or I go the complete opposite route. Was there some kind of like, oh, I want to do something to set my own path? Or was there like, I'm not interested because I've actually seen the day to day, which I know happens for a lot of people who grew up in business. They're like, dude, I've been around this for years and volunteering slash child labor. No, I'm just kidding. But so I want to steer left, and I want to go in a complete direction. What context do you have around, it sounds like you were exposed to real estate for maybe quite some time, but it didn't feel like it resonated with you. Is that the right interpretation, or what was it? What was it behind that?
So, okay, so my choice to go into medicine was really not influenced by anybody
Mm,
except for my own story. Besides the fact that, just about all Nigerian parents want their kids to be doctors, lawyers, engineers, but still, it just happened to be aligned with what I wanted to do. And part of that is because I had polio when I was 3, 4. So I
mm.
am a polio survivor. And just that experience of in and out of hospitals, doctors, dealing with orthotics, makers, and just I was always in the medical field. So for me, growing up, um, when people ask my parents, "Oh, what happened to her?" So currently, I use crutches and I wear a leg brace on my right leg. So when people
Mhm.
happen to have the story I heard growing up was, "Oh, she was sick and she was given an injection, and the next morning she couldn't walk anymore." I was like, "Wait a minute." So I grew up, yes, I grew up thinking that, oh, it's because they gave me injection in the wrong place or the wrong medication.
Mm.
So I just always wanted to learn more. It wasn't that I didn't believe them, but I was like, wait, so where was it exactly that they gave the injection? Like, which part of the body could have done this damage? Or what type of medication was I supposed to have received and didn't receive? So it was just a lot of unanswered questions. But then as I progressed through my education, I started finding out about, really illnesses and diseases. And I think what happened was I came to the United States for treatment back in the 80s. And the doctor, so of course they asked my parents what happened and they repeated the same story, but the doctor will repeat back, or write in my chart, poliomyelitis. I was like, wait a minute, these two don't even go together.
Wow.
So exactly. So anyway, I just started researching more on my own, and I figured out where things got lost in translation.
Wow.
Yeah, so back home, whenever you're sick, it doesn't matter what's wrong with you, and you go to the hospital, they will give you an injection. They will give you an injection, of some medicine. Usually, you don't know what the medicine is. It could be antibiotics, but if there's a pill version and an injection version, you get the injection version. I don't know whether they thought it worked faster or to charge you more. I have no idea. But in my case, I got sick, really, really high fever. You know, my mom took me to the doctor. I got some sort of injection, some medication via the injection route. And I came home, the fever broke. I was sleeping, the fever broke. And then I woke up and called out to my mom. That's the story I was told. And my mom was expecting me to come down, to come and meet her wherever she was. And I couldn't. And she waited for a while. And finally, she came to me and took me off the bed. And I wasn't able to stand anymore. So that was how the story, So what happened? Kind of, after having gone through medical school, the fever, the polio virus has already started doing its damage
Mm.
anyway. So to them, when you're sick, when you have a cold, you can have a fever. When you have the flu, you
Right,
have a
those are the
fever. It's
symptoms, right?
yes, exactly. It's a viral illness, but they weren't able to tease out that it was a virus. So they took me
Oh,
to
wow.
the all they know is a fever, and what's endemic there is the malaria. So that's probably what medication I was given. Who knows? I don't know. Or typhoid, something like
Mm.
that. Yeah. So
So
anyway,
let me ask you, can you, just for my interest, is polio something that it you can catch, or is it, does it, what is the origin of polio? Is it something that comes and goes? Is it something that is genetic? Is it something like, what how do you, how does that, because I want to make sure I understand, because this is very fascinating. How does it
so
come?
it's a virus, just like you have the flu virus, just like you
Mm-hmm.
have the HIV virus, just like you
Mm-hmm.
have the COVID virus. So it's in that class of viral illnesses, you know,
Mm.
that usually you don't treat with antibiotics, just as a rule, period. So you treat viral illnesses. I guess the key is recognizing which virus it is. So just like you have a different medication for the flu virus, you have a different medication for COVID virus. You have a different medication for herpes virus.
Mm-hmm.
So there are certain viruses that have treatment, and others you just treat the symptoms. So for example, if you had just a regular cold, your doctor will say, and you have sore throat, they'll say, take ibuprofen, you know, honey with lemon, steam bath kind of thing for the
Mm-hmm.
symptoms, because that one doesn't really have any treatment and it's not as severe. And for most people, the immune system can usually, um, handle it, and you get better anywhere between 3 to 5 to 7 days, right? But other
Mm-hmm.
viruses are usually more powerful and can cause more damage, right? So poliovirus
Mm.
happens to be one of that. So it causes neurological deficits. So it affects no two polio cases are alike. So
Wow.
yeah, so it attacks the part of your brain that controls your extremities. So for some people, eh, you know, it's one leg, two legs, one leg, one arm, two legs, two arms, different things. So
Wow.
I don't know if you remember back in the US back then, they treated polio cases with the iron lung. They put kids in iron lung. I don't know if you've heard of it. I don't know what that was intended to do. I think depending on the severity of the virus, it can affect your respiratory system,
Wow.
yeah. So I don't quite understand that, to be honest with you, but I know that that's one of the treatments that they used back then, in the United States. So polio has since been eradicated in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
in most places, but there are still some third world countries where polio is still, doing damage.
Wow. So
Yeah.
that's crazy. The gentleman I was just telling you about, Myron
Mhm.
Golden, you would never know this, right? Just like you would never know you. He's always on camera. He had polio, and that's why he has a prosthetic leg as well.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
I've
yeah.
heard the name. I've heard
Yeah.
the name, but I haven't read much about him or done much research about him, but now you mentioned it, I probably should, look him up actually.
Well,
Yeah.
he's a big influence for me. There's the way he's able to speak, and
Hmm.
and the mind and everything. Okay, wow, that's very, that was a fascinating way to put a bow on how you were on a path to, it's so ironic how we're always kind of this, what we're searching for is sometimes to solve an internal kind of
Hmm.
um battle that we have, whether it's from, when we were young, or it was a traumatic event of some sort that usually triggers, which is always interesting. That's why I like to ask the question. So you had your own kind of personal commitment to, hey, I want to get to the root of this, and now you're in a position where you've learned and you've educated yourself, and you obviously a practitioner as a physician. And so now I'm so curious, you do all that, you get to the root, and then you say, within the last couple of years, I want to get into real estate. Why?
Again, I I am a multitasker by nature. Like I don't only want to be able to do stuff. And I guess this comes from just how I was raised. My parents never put any barrier in terms of how
Mm.
they treated me. Like I wasn't treated any special, any differently. In fact, if anything, I got the brunt of the punishment at home because I'm the oldest. So my
Wow.
siblings did something wrong. They're like, "Where were you when they were doing that?" I'm like, "How am I supposed to know what they were doing when they were doing it?" So as the oldest, I was held to a different level of responsibility. I was like, this is not even fair. How did we get here? Why am I answering questions for other people's
Things that I
misdeeds?
didn't do, right?
I
Yeah.
didn't do, so but
Oh my gosh.
they just, constantly pushed me. And personally, for me, I don't I when I want to do something, I've realized, looking back, that the things that I've been able to accomplish, I've been able to accomplish them if I didn't know what it entails. So, for example,
Hmm.
yes. So, for example, if I had known that residency would have been so physically demanding, I don't think I would have started the journey to go to medical. So I would have been like, there's no way I can do that. Like, physically, there's no way I can do that. You know, Back home, I went to a boarding high school. If I had known all the things that entailed, I don't think I would have agreed to go. But my parents did not tell me. They just, back home, the good schools are the boarding schools. So you want to go to the
Mm.
boarding school. It's almost like wanting to go to the private,
Oh yeah.
schools, like,
Sector, yeah.
yeah. So I wanted to go. All my If you were smart, that's where you wanted to go because you were getting into the good schools. So that's how, I just applied. I took the exam and I was accepted, and off I went. And that, looking back, is still one of the best 6 years of my life. Yes,
Oh, which
because
part?
the my high school, the boarding high
Wow.
school,
Interesting.
because that was the first time I was away from my parents,
Hmm.
independent, with all the challenges that came with. So I had to figure it out on my own. I had to figure out how to ask, and how to time management, asking people, realizing what I couldn't do. Like, it really exposed all my limitations, because you had to fetch water with a bucket of water. Of course, I can carry
Mm.
a bucket of water with my crutches. So I had, thank God for the group of people that I went to school with. They were so helpful. They didn't make me, it's almost like they knew what I needed help with and will offer to help me most of the time. So it was just a beautiful experience. I'm telling you, I think that experience molded me into the very independent, and um not just independent. I by nature, I persevere through things a lot. Like, I don't see, even when I see challenges, I always try to figure out a way to do what I want to do, to solve the problem for me. So yeah.
Mm.
hmm
Interesting. That's so incredible because boarding school is like, I mean, is that more, are you still in your teens?
Yes. So
Yeah.
here, high school is 4 years. Back home, high
Mhm.
school is 6 years.
Mm.
So we have elementary school 6 years, and then high school is 6 years. So I was in high school by either 10, 11. Yeah. So that's 6 years. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think I mean, not I think you're obviously right. This is your truth, but as I'm listening to it, it's I was thinking that I think maybe middle school is tough, but I think high school you get a good like core group and you start forming your identity. Now, when you were growing up and you start thinking about that identity, because you said independence, um, which in your case, I'm so curious. Do you feel that? Um, because I can imagine, right? If you have crutches, etc. Do you feel that? It's interesting you say independent because someone might hear that and think that, oh, well, I would think that you would feel that you depend on others' help. Can you talk about that? Because I'm very curious. I've always been very curious as to, what is too much? Do you let someone? who you feel needs help themselves, or does it become annoying to the fact of like, yep, let me hold the door open for you? Or like, how did that dynamic feel when especially at that age? And talk about that independence that you talked about.
So the independence that I talked about was just independence away from my family, from my
Mm,
parents, right?
hmm.
Like, at home, you know, I grew up in a big household. So we had cousins and, staying with us and, my siblings and, there were always like family members around.
Hmm.
So e- everybody understood that I use crutches. So if my house wasn't uh, back home, there's really nothing like handicap accessibility, right? So when my dad did not try to configure the staircase any differently or did not try to build a ramp or anything like that. So I went up and down the stairs, right? But if there was something that I needed to take upstairs, I could call my sibling or call my cousin to help me or take this upstairs while I, made my way up the stairs, right?
Yeah.
So, but going to college, I'm sorry, not college, high school, that's 6 years. It was for me, again, I think this is more in hindsight because I don't know that I realized it in the moment.
Mm,
Being able, it made me know that I could do things on my own without having my parents helping me.
mm.
So even though initially it was physically, it also translated to financially, as in
Wow.
I wanted to be able to have my own career. Growing up, I felt like Nigeria was a place where, you the mentality is such that when they see you, they see the disability. So they don't
Mm,
see what you're able to do.
wow.
Yes. So from an early age, and I don't know why that happened, I felt like if I wanted to do something for myself, I don't think I could do it in this country, like
Wow.
in Nigeria. Yes.
Wow, that's so interesting. Do you feel different about like America?
No, not like, I mean, in Nigeria, I felt like I couldn't do what I wanted to do in Nigeria because everybody would be like, oh, you don't have to do that. Like even driving, something as simple as driving. Like there was no expectation for me to be able to drive.
Mm.
You see
And
that?
and
So,
yeah, and that's what I'm comparing. You're saying here though, you feel otherwise.
yes, here it's like
Hmm.
the system, you
Mm.
know, at least when it comes to this, or at least in my own perspective and how I've been able to navigate it, um, there there are things set in place for you to do what you want to do physically, or at least to aid you without having to
Mm.
fully depend on somebody. So, for example, there's the ADA, American Disability Act and stuff like that. So there are things in place. Some will argue that more needs to be done, fine, but just for starters, there are things in place to at least, there's the handicap parking spot in establishments. There's the door where you can push to go in. There are elevators in most buildings. I mean, just name it. So they're just things for people with physical disability. Now I can only speak to physical disabilities, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that's different. And here, even though sometimes people might look at me and be like, "Oh my gosh, you're able to do that, da, 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 da." But I'm not like an anomaly, you know. Like when I
Mm.
went home and I was driving, people were like even me trying to get in the driver's side, they're like, "Why are you trying to get in the driver's side?" I'm like, "I'm about to drive." They're like, "You're driving?" So it's like being
Mm.
able to drive was like, and even if you ask some people back home, they will say that the only reason, I don't know this for a fact, but they will believe that the reason I'm able to drive is because I left the country. Yes, if I had stayed in Nigeria, I don't think I would have been given that
The
opportunity to be able,
opportunity.
yes,
Wow.
yes, to learn how to drive.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fascinating because, on so many levels, it's applicable in so many areas of our lives, right?
Hmm.
Giving yourself the ability or someone the chance to become financially free, giving somebody the chance to
Hmm.
get education, giving yourself the chance. I think sometimes we need to give ourselves the chance. Um, but I mean, I certainly don't just want to highlight that, because I think as an individual you've accomplished so much yourself. But I know that when we did talk, right? So you obviously now you're an investor, having become a doctor, right? Having come to America alone as an immigrant for myself, I know I can relate to these kind of, call them milestones or hurdles of what you need to overcome. That alone in itself is an accomplishment, but you're continue to check that box, right? um what do you think is, what gets you out of bed? Like what gets you, where does this motivation come from? Do you think it's instilled, or is there a bigger purpose to, something you're, I mean, I know the first one from what you told me was that you were searching for, to solve that problem, that untold kind of unfigured out story that was existing. But you've also mentioned that you're a multitasker. So what do you think you're trying to find, and what excites you?
So definitely, I would say for sure that it's instilled because I think the beauty of the way my parents raised me
Mhm.
is that they never used my disability as an excuse.
Mm.
Not for one day. Like I said, if anything, I was supposed to be the one that excelled the most, that excelled the most. So yeah, that came from that, and then just by me being wanting to, you know, prove whatever or whoever wrong,
Yeah.
I was just determined to do my, find my own path in life and be successful at it. So I would say definitely from my parents initially, and then just wanting to, be able to sustain myself, um, if need be. Yeah.
Mm. Well, this is a good segue, because one of the things that you and I had talked about, which I thought was pretty fascinating. Speaking of setting your own path, right? You have your 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 short term. Are you operating these as short term rentals, or and getting them into midterm rentals, or a combination of both? So I want to say accurately.
So I started out with both
Hmm.
short-term rentals.
Hmm.
The one in South Carolina, I feel is more suited for midterm rental just
Hmm.
because of the location and the size.
Sure.
The one in the property in Atlanta here is closer to the Brave Stadium. So it's more like, in the urban area, people come in and I wanting to do stuff, in the city and stuff like that. So, but
Mm.
yeah, so I just personally, I just feel like one is more suited for midterm rental than the other, but I could be proven wrong for sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
no, I mean, definitely run the hybrid. That's kind of
Hmm.
what we do. Experiment Nation, you've heard the word MTR, midterm rentals, as it is currently a hot topic and hot commodity right now, because again, there has been an increase in short-term rental regulations, and there also has been, let's face it, a slowdown in what we were experiencing a couple years back when it comes to bookings. So with that said, short-term rental operators are looking for alternative solutions to tap into the midterm rental space. However, there is a sub niche of midterm rental insurance that I'm truly excited about, that I want to share with you, that the experience that we've had, the tremendous results we've been able to have, and that's the insurance midterm rental space, which is very different than your traditional midterm rentals. When you think of traditionally midterm rentals, you think of travel nurses. There is a space, midterm rental insurance space, that we've tapped in, where you need to be well connected with insurance and relocation specialists and companies, and understand the right type of asset required for you to be able to help these families. What's really important, that stands out the most, which you can get in what I'm about to offer you, is the understanding where to be found by these insurance companies, how to properly manage your calendar so that your listings are optimized so that they can find you, how to actually gain traction and build a relationship with these relocation insurance companies. I've put together an MTR insurance blueprint. That's double MT triple R insurance blueprint to cover these foundations after we've had success landing very large contracts on single family homes that literally 4x what we traditionally make in long-term rentals, and also gives us peace of mind because there's less turnover and 100% occupancy, because these contracts can start anywhere from 30 days to 3 months to 8 months and range anywhere from, again, we've landed anywhere from $8,000 to $9,000 a month in per month on a single family home property, which our mortgages are typically around the 2,400 range, which then gives you a large spread of anywhere from 4 to 6K net on just one property. And this is why it's very hot right now. But people who haven't been in the lab with individuals like myself, like Jesse Vasquez and Dr. Rachel Gainsborough and Noble Crawford, don't have the foundations and don't know exactly where to start. And therefore, this is why I'm giving you guys a blueprint, the MTRR insurance blueprint. Go to the website, experimentrealestate.com, and get yourself a blueprint to completely change, or at least have a plan B if you're a short-term rental operator looking to maximize your occupancy and profitability. We'll see you on the other side. That's fascinating. So you got now, speaking of setting your own path, you have your own properties. You, in addition to, you're expanding your portfolio, and then you said something that kind of jumped out at me. You're also on this mission of kind of carving a niche within the space of already a niched space. Please enlighten me and enlighten us and tell a little bit about what that's about, because I love niches and I love experiments, and especially ones that are scratching a specific itch, that we're dealing with ourselves. And I think I told you, when in person, I'm like, I think you're knocking on a very, very big door. And I think, forget knocking on the door, I think you're building the door, right? I mean,
Thank
so
you.
tell me about that, because I think people really need to be listening to this, again, solution, to an existing and very prevalent, I would call it, situation.
Sure. Thank you so much. Yeah. So,
Mhm.
again, I love traveling and I travel as much as I can, as much as
Mhm.
time will permit me. And so, but what I've noticed, just growing up and dealing with my own disability, physical disability, is that it takes um, it takes a lot to travel. It takes a lot to travel,
Mhm.
when you have a physical disability. It really does take a lot. So I know personally what I've had to, or what I go through each time when I'm trying to travel, or when I want to travel to. It doesn't even have to be to like a vacation destination. It could just be traveling to a friend's house. So,
Mm.
but all the steps that I have to go through, and then you add the layer of going to like a destination, all the things that come into play with that. So I've had, like I stated initially, before, it's I will find a way to get to what I want to do. By God's grace, I will find a way to make it happen. So I've never not done something or gone anywhere because of my physical disability. It could be for other reasons,
Mhm.
but not for that. So yeah, so over the years, I've just had to, navigate travel differently. And, you know, recently, a few years ago, I started a travel company because of that thought in my head. I was like, well, if I have this much trouble, planning my trip, I wonder how many other, because issue. Can you see? Oh,
Yep, you're back.
okay.
Was that me or
Yes.
yep?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it went
So
off on both sides. Yeah.
um yeah, so you, when you travel, you say, if you want to just restart from there, make sure I captured that. So
Sure.
you said when you travel, what do you experience?
So when I travel, I put a lot of planning into it
Mm-hmm.
because I want to be accommodated adequately because of my physical disability.
Mm-hmm.
So I will take out the time to do what I need to do before I go to where I need to go. So in recent years, I just started thinking, oh, if I'm having this much, spending this much time planning a trip, I wonder how many other people don't go anywhere because they have one physical
Wow.
disability or another, you know? So, I mean, the stories abound. Like in residency, I hardly ever book my travel online. Hardly. I don't remember. Like I will call the hotel first, not just the reservation line. I call the hotel directly after I've looked them up online. Make sure or verify that the picture they're showing about a particular room is actually available. So it happened. It happened. I do it all the time. It's become second nature to me now. But I've had instances that I've called, verified. I said, please put it in your reservation dashboard so that whoever comes behind you will know. And I still get there, and things are not as they should, you know. So
It's
yes.
incredible because these are such huge companies, and like you almost wonder. And this is, I think, for me, when I think about that, it's it's actually encouraging because these are such huge corporations and they're still dropping the ball all the time. And like, whether it's that or like, can you put that in your notes? Yeah, yeah, we put it in the notes. You call back again. By the way, is there something in the note? I don't see anything in the note. I'm like, oh my god, like there's no way that you're a big conglomerate company, and yet there's so many broken like system like or areas where your system is broken. And for
Mhm.
me, that gives us, the little guys or the little gal, right? And when I say that, it's relative to these huge conglomerate companies,
Mhm.
an opportunity to take a huge chunk of the marketplace, right, and solve the
Mhm.
problem the way it's supposed to be solved.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and then again, I think it's just lack of understanding. So I remember one time I reserved a handicap. I called the hotel, told them what I wanted. They were like, "Oh yeah, book it and put the notes wherever." And then I get there, and the room they gave me was a handicap accessible room for hearing impaired people.
Oh gosh.
So the one where you had to press the bell and it will light up because they can hear like the alarm. I was like, this is not the room that I requested. They're like, what is a it's a handicap accessible room. I'm like, that's a different kind of handicap.
Do you think it's just ignorance, or like what do you think it is?
um, I honestly don't know what it is, but it happens to me so much that when I get to a place and everything is right, I'm
You're
very
like,
surprised. I usually will even come down and say thank you before I go back and unpack my stuff. There was one instance I traveled to see my brother. We got there late at night with my daughter. We got there and it was just this guy in front of the thing checking people in because I think there was there was a couple of planes that were delayed, and so multiple planes ended up arriving at the same time. So I bet multiple people were showing up at different various hotels at the same time. So the guy gave me my room. I said, okay, please, before I log my suitcase, first of all, there was really nobody to even help me with my suitcase. They didn't have one of those trolleys anymore. I said,
no.
please, 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 before I take everything upstairs, do you mind going upstairs to make sure the bathroom is XYZ? I begged and pleaded. He said, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. I'm telling you in my face, I'm sure it is. I go up there, Ruben, I kid you not, this was in California. I go up there and the bathroom was not what I requested. I said, I knew this. I knew this. That's why I wanted him to go up so I don't have to go up twice. So I went, we took all, my daughter is 6. She was 4 at that time. We took everything up, we had to take everything back down, and I just lost it. I was so upset. I was so upset with him because I know that I waited for my turn. There was a long line. I understand. But when it was my turn, I said, please, can you just go and check? And he said, I know it is. I know it is. And then when I came back down, I was like, I told you this. Like, we could have avoided this whole, episode if you had just gone upstairs and checked the bathroom and then come down to reassign me a different room.
Mhm.
That was all I
What
asked.
what what
I
did
wasn't,
what did he say? I'm so curious.
I mean, he was like, he apologized. He's sorry. I don't know why they left him to be by himself, in at that time of the night, honestly. But he was the only one. Usually there are two people working, but he
That's
was the only one there. So it's just, I, I mean, and then he now changed room, and my daughter and I, we logged our stuff back up again, and by this time my daughter was crying. Even the people that were in line was like, were upset because some of them witnessed what happened. They witnessed me asking him, please, can you go check? So they were upset for me.
oh.
My daughter was crying. I was like, Mommy, but you told him to go check first. I said, yes, I did.
Oh.
Yes, yes. Because I know. I'm telling you, I know.
From experience, I mean, you're more qualified. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Yeah, that's so tell me what when it has gone right, you know, is there a particular you know, do you see any consistency in the way the service is done? Is there some kind of ch- um balances in check? I know we talked a lot about this SOP systems, etc. Is there
Mhm.
like, do you find that there's a difference? Is there multiple? Did you find that the ball gets a drop and there's multiple people involved? Do you find that it's easier when it's one? Like, is there any kind of common denominator that you found that is true when it does work? And the reason I ask this is I'm very system oriented in my head, so I'm thinking, okay, if you're gonna do this, right? Which you are doing, how do you do it the right way and avoid the risk of again giving that sour taste in somebody else's you know mouth, the way you kind of experienced it as well in California, and I'm
Sure.
sure many other places.
Yes. So I think what the first thing is not understanding the different types of physical disability, you know.
Mm,
So, for example, somebody who is wheelchair bound, their physical needs will be completely different from somebody who uses crutches, will be completely different from somebody who uses a
wow.
cane, could be completely different from somebody who has a limp, So it just varies because the way you navigate each equipment is different.
Wow,
Yes.
that is just, I want to just take that in because that is a whole level of enlightenment that is why I'm so glad you're here, because I think if anybody is listens to this too and thinks about that, of how you just put that into context, I think
Mhm.
we just put people in a box of, oh, you're handicapped, but there's so many different, and I know, and I've been very intentional of how you said it, it's physically handicapped, right?
Mhm.
um and so I just think that's so important what you just said. Okay, great. So now that we're there and you're aware of this, okay, so you're saying there's a under fundamental gap in understanding of what the different levels of handicapped is, correct?
Definitely, absolutely. I mean, without a doubt, so so physical disabilities doesn't even just end or start and begin and end with people that have had like some sort of physical illness, some sort of illness happen to them that led to like a physical disability. It could even just be aging, like the elderly population,
Mhm.
they have their own challenges physically as well. So I think the fundamentally, just like I don't know everything, I don't think people understand all the levels of disability that exist. And even when you pick a category, it still has its own subcategory as well. So somebody that is hearing impaired will need something completely different from somebody who has a physical disability, you know.
Mm,
Yes. So somebody who is blind or has some visual impairment will need something completely different from any other type of physical disability, any other type of disability. So it's just different. So I'm not even claiming to understand other types of disability, but when it comes to physical disability, I feel this is my estimation that that's the one, because it's so visual, that's the
Mm,
one that is usually wrongly interpreted most of the time.
the the physical.
Yes, yes. So
Yeah.
for example, for me, I use crutches. Going upstairs is hard for me, but I will go upstairs if I need to.
Mm.
If I am on a wheelchair, I'm not able to go up the stairs, period. So see how that changes. Or somebody that uses another person that even uses like the underarm crutches, going upstairs might be impossible compared to somebody who uses forearm crutches like I do.
Oh my god.
Yes,
That is crazy.
because the physics of using each equipment is very different. It can be very involved or not as involved when you're trying to navigate a physical space.
Can one design a space that solves all of these problems at once?
Absolutely.
Mm.
Definitely. Absolutely. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. So w- for me, again, again, for me, it's become such second nature. So for example, when I was buying my house in the subdivision that I live in, I went and looked at all the houses, but which again, nothing to the salesperson, but when I was telling her that I want a stepless entry, she will say stuff like, "Oh, this house has just a little bit of a lip, like a little bit of a step. Like it's really little, honestly, it's very little. But for me, I wanted it to be stepless. So I ended up finding a house where if you come into the garage, it's flush, with walking into the house. But I will hardly come in through my front door because my front door has the curb, and then it has uh and then my door is has a small step off the way the curb is. It's a bit difficult to explain.
No, I
So
get it.
I mean, I can go in and out of my front door, but I want to be able to have an alternative, of having the stepless entry,
Mm.
period. That's just me, yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and so interesting. Even someone who's selling the real estate
Yeah.
can still struggle because they don't have the understanding and
Yes.
perspective. They just what they
Yes.
know is what they know.
Hmm.
So if someone's listening, they're like, okay, I want to be able to cater to, someone who has a physical handicap, right? Of some sort, because there's multiple kinds,
Hmm.
right? That's what you've highlighted. What are some fundamentals that I can look at if I want to make my home, call it ADA compliant? Is that the right terminology? I want to be.
Um, so ADA compliance is varied, but for the host who wants to cater to this population, it really, and this is the company that I'm building. I'm building a concierge travel company that
Mm,
will cater to specifically to individuals with physical disabilities. So not just the physical space or the location where they're going, but just going through the airport, the airport experience. That's another,
oh my
ballpark
gosh.
all by itself. So, but just letting them know that you don't have to not go where you want to go to enjoy a place you really want to enjoy because of your physical disability. But as a host, you want to, and this may seem like it's not a big deal, but if someone reaches out to you and asks you if you have this, if you don't have that, let the person know you don't have it, because that's the difference between the person enjoying their vacation and not enjoying their vacation.
Wow.
Just being able to say I don't have, just like you can say, oh, I'm not pet friendly, or just as you can say,
Mm,
oh, I don't have a cot for babies, right? So anybody 2 years and younger will not be able to stay. Same thing, if someone reaches out to you because maybe they saw something in your picture that is not quite clear, please just let them know, because that is a specific need, to be able to physically enjoy the space that they're gonna be in.
That's
Yes.
such a good call out, Ifeoma. The only thing that I will say is that it sounds like you have a way better perspective, and it sounds like and this is not to anyone's defense, because our job is to get educated, right? Our job is for me to lean into, hey, let me hear it from your perspective, because I'm not aware, and I'm like, wow, this is crazy. Like forearm crutches versus underarm crutches, like you don't think about that unless you're in that position. So what are some oversights that you see where someone might not even have the ill intention to say, oh yeah, no, you'll be fine, and then you realize that no, 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 like the reason why the user was asking that question, and you kind of had an oversight, is because there's actually a very different interpretation. Could you just highlight maybe a few things that we should be more, when we hear it, because we listen to this episode, we'll be like, oh, okay, wait. I remember Foma came and said this. Like, let me just be a little bit more as a host, even go outside of my way and be like, hey, I just want to be clear when you ask that question that there is a little lip still, and it's not flush. Like, what are some oversights that some of us who are not in that position might just completely overlook it, that to you is not an oversight at all and actually is detrimental to your stay?
Okay, so thank you. So one of the just globally,
Mhm.
yeah, just as a general suggestion, for somebody who wants to cater to this population, and you're looking to acquire property, just making sure that you have at least, for starters, a bedroom and a bathroom on the main level.
Mm.
Just that alone, for someone, let's say for an elderly person who can, get up like a step in your front door, but won't be able to make it up the stairs,
Mhm.
that's a plus for that person.
Master on
So
main, right?
it doesn't even have to be master. It has to
Bedroom on
just
main.
a bedroom on the main, so they don't have to navigate the stairs, and a
Mhm.
bathroom. And then when you now get into the specifics of the bathroom, so again, something as simple as having the grab bars will be helpful. Something as again, something.
Is that by the toilet and the shower? I think, because even that could be like, oh yeah, we have grab bars. You can grab the bar by the towel, right? Like, just, you see what I'm saying? This is helpful. I'm so serious. We don't know any better. Some people don't. I know
Yes,
because
I
I've
know.
hosted families, right? And let's talk
Yes,
about even the entrance, right? How wide it
that
needs to
is
be,
correct.
maybe for a
Yes,
wheelchair. So
yes,
I want to unfold that a little bit, because people are listening, like, like, but it's
yes.
not really hitting right. So,
So sometimes it's an additional. I understand that it's an additional expense to really um go all out, to retrofit a property that you want to put into service, right
Mhm.
away. So, but some of the suggestions you can implement, so that if I'm booking the property, I know what my limitations are. So, for
Hmm.
example, somebody might want a shower instead of a bathtub, right? It doesn't even matter if the bathtub is no, sorry, it doesn't even matter if the shower is stepless, or if it has, like, a lift to get into. So for somebody that might not be a big deal. But then again, so if you can put the grab bar in the shower, if you can make it stepless, that's fantastic, right? So that
Now,
the
stepless, there's still a step, right? Or
no,
there's,
no.
wow, some of them are just
Stepless
flushed.
shower. Yes, yes.
Oh.
But then the shower, the way they make the shower, it's almost like you can literally see the shower inside the shower slope to the
Mm.
drain. So
Mm-hmm.
that, so the floor,
It's
once you walk
leveled.
into the bathroom, is a bit higher
Mm-hmm.
than the space
Yep.
inside the shower.
Mm-hmm.
So next time you go somewhere, if you get a room like
Wow.
that,
See,
try to
my
take the
paradigm is shifting.
so that way when you're showering, the water doesn't flow out.
Oh yeah, it'll just,
Yeah,
yeah,
it should.
it
Yeah,
slopes in.
exactly. That's correct.
Yeah. Mm.
So, if you can have grab bar, so that even if it's not, flush, stepless, if
Mm-hmm.
you can have a shower seat, that would be helpful. So
Mm.
whatever you can have, that will cater to certain types of physical disability will be helpful if you can't just change out, the whole entire building, Yeah. So, for example, if you have a a bathtub, you can have, let's say, a transfer bench for somebody
Hmm.
on, with a shower chair, so that someone in a wheelchair will be able to transfer from that wheelchair to the shower chair in the bathtub.
Wow. Would
So
you say
that's
that that's where the most attention, or we're just getting started here? Is that the main, like, because I mean, everyone's got to go to the bathroom, everyone's got to shower, right?
exactly,
Everyone's
yeah.
got to eat. So,
Yes.
and again, I don't want to by any means try to simplify this, but I'm curious, like,
Hmm.
how deep does the scope go? Because we only know what we know. I'm thinking, okay, you get up in the morning, you go to the bathroom, so that's one. Is there any other oversight that is like so critical that you're like, wow, like, or is it more like, Ruben, if you cover these bases, you're gonna be at least 10, 10 times more um accommodating to one who needs
Exactly.
this.
Exactly. So just having, like I said, just having a bedroom and a bath. So okay, the other day, my brother lives in, one of the suburbs in London,
Mhm.
near London, I mean, and they just moved to the new house, and I was asking him about the house, and he said the bathroom is upstairs. So I can't stay with my brother. Standard. I cannot stay with my
That's
brother.
crazy.
Yes, I can't stay. Not only can I not stay with my brother, like if I was going to his house, I will make sure I go somewhere else to use the restroom before I get to his house. Because the homes in UK are usually small and their steps are even narrower.
Oh yeah.
So I can go upstairs, but I can already imagine that making it up their stairs, it's not like American stairs where the stairs are wider and I can navigate. And he immediately told me, "Oh no, if you come here, you're gonna stay at a hotel." Yeah, I mean, that's just I that knocked it out completely. Hmm. Yeah, so just little things like that, just having a bedroom and a bathroom on the main floor it's at least we're talking, that's just the beginner level, and then you get into how you can really make the bathroom because most doors are not even as wide as 32 inches.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot, but you know, the basic stuff is being able to get to the room and be able to use the shower
Yeah.
because those are the two main things you do when you go on vacation. Now,
Mm.
of course, there are other things, you can do in a house, but guests are usually at these properties for a short amount of time. The you could say the kitchen cabinet height should be X amount of height, this and that, but they're not going to be there for a long time. And the option to go out and eat is always there or to order food in.
Mhm.
But the shower and sleeping,
Essential
that
needs. Yeah.
that those are essential. Yes,
Let
yes.
me ask you,
Mhm.
because I had a conversation with my one of my guys who handles a lot of our beds. Do you go for a low bed or a higher bed? Because I want, and the reason I'm coming from that, because like that again, see, I'm a detailed guy, so I'm
I
here
know.
for you.
Let me tell you a story. So when I was coming for, after I signed up for the MTR Wealth Retreat, right?
Hmm.
I emailed them my concerns or my needs for the bathroom.
Hmm.
It di- this is me now. It didn't even occur to me
That's
that
really bad.
I will have any other issue. And I get to the room, as soon as I walk in, I was like, it's gonna be a problem getting into the bed. And it
Was it high?
was too high. For me, it was too high.
Wow.
Yes. So, but I figured it out. I was like, I didn't even know beds,
Could
that
be
the
that
height
high.
could be that high. And I didn't think my bed at home is high, but obviously not as high as that bed, you know. So I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? But I figured it out. That's what I'm saying. I figured it out. I was like, I'm not even gonna bother anybody else with this because first of all, how are they gonna start changing the bed? That's like a non-starter. So what I did was, so when I wear my leg brace on my right leg, I'm more stable. Like I wear it to drive, I wear it to walk around, like if I'm cooking or doing more stuff
Hmm.
around the house, right? I wear my leg brace just for more stability. So what I did was I would climb like almost like propel myself onto the bed and then I'll take off my braces, which is the reverse of what I do at home. I
Right.
take
You
off my
take off the
braces
brace,
and I
then
get
you go on.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
Wow.
It was so hard. The next morning I was telling one of my friends that came for the retreat. I said, she was like, "Why did you call me?" I was like, I didn't want to. I honestly didn't want to bother anybody else.
Yeah.
But as soon as I walked in, I was like, I won't be able to get on this
Uh-oh.
bed. Yes, yes.
Wow.
But I was
What's
like,
your
they've
what's your
already gone above and beyond for the bathroom for me that,
oh
I
yeah.
didn't even think of the bed. I didn't think of the bed.
Yeah. That's so interesting. That's again another right where you get a chance to apply that to your
Yeah.
for your insight. What do you think is a good? I don't know if you know. I don't even know that I know heights of bed, so I apologize. I don't want to be a hypocrite when I ask a question that I wouldn't even know. But what's a good? What's a good like?
I don't, honestly, I even myself, I don't know. I don't know what the height should
Yeah.
be. But after that experience, I was like, okay, I need to figure out what the appropriate wheelchair height is because I think that will be the lowest somebody
Mm,
can be, like wheelchair to be able to go from wheelchair to the bed, you know.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Wow, 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 wow. So
yes,
that's
yes.
fascinating. So here we are, I think your company, and please for our listeners, what is the name of your company that's looking to tackle this huge problem that exists? Or I should say, you know what? I focus on the glass half full. It's an opportunity. It's not a problem. It's an opportunity to solve a challenge. Um, what is the name of your company so we are aware of who is going to take over and become the pioneer when it comes to catering to
Amen.
those
Amen.
who are
Amen.
physically handicapped, who are looking to, I love your motto, by the way, who are looking where you're giving them a chance to not have themselves get in their own way of not traveling because in anticipation that the place that they're going to won't have won't be able to accommodate them. I
Hmm.
love you said it better than I did, of course, but um I love the fact that that's even the big reason, right? Like you should be able to travel to and not be hindered by, you know, by a true reality that there is a limitation out there and you're looking to solve that problem. So, without further ado, tell us the name.
So the name of my travel company is called Vida Voyage. It's French and it
Vida
means,
Voyage.
yes. It
That
means
is
life is
life of a traveler, right?
a
Or
life is
is
a
that
journey. Yeah,
life is a
life
journey?
is
Okay.
a journey.
Oh,
Yeah. So
vie de voyage.
yes.
Oh, so life. Yeah, you said it.
Yeah, life is a journey.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, life.
So yeah, so that's the travel company that I started. Still working on it. But yeah, so one of the things I hope to do for, you know, travelers with physical disabilities, just, really it's gonna be a concierge service, like it's gonna be personalized because again, each physical disability is different, just
Mhm,
like the needs of each traveler is different. Now you now bring it down to the level of somebody um with a physical disability, to
mhm,
really get to know them, find out first of all what the challenges are, what their needs, what their anticipated needs might be,
mhm.
and then before I even go into where are they going, the time when they want to go there and stuff like that, because you want to be able to at least get it in your head, at least for me, okay, they're going to need this for this place they're going to.
Mm.
And if this place is not going to be able to provide what they need, I want to be able to offer them other alternatives and see if that will
Okay,
suit.
almost like a
Yes.
backup plan.
Yes,
Um, how,
exactly. Yeah.
I'm curious as to how do you, if I'm a in almost like a consultant for you, and I call and I say yes, yes, Ruben, we've accounted for it. Is it going to be like almost like a you need to validate on behalf of the customer, because people are apparently telling you things that you've already validated, and then you
Exactly.
show up there it's not right. So how do you feel, or how do you anticipate you will tackle the challenge of relying on third parties to give you the right information on behalf of the client? Like, have you gotten to that point yet?
Yeah, so one of the things I will do is make sure I build relationships with all these companies,
Hmm.
vacation destinations and,
Hmm.
properties and, individual hosts like yourself, myself, just to, catalog or create a database of what they have in what
Mm,
property and, stuff like that. Possibly, upload pictures so that somebody can really see and analyze and determine, okay, this will work for me you know
yeah.
so for example, even something as little as I need a shower chair with handles as opposed to I need a shower chair without a back and handle. So
Mm,
for me, who uses forearm crutches, I prefer just a shower bench. I
yeah.
don't want it to have handles, I don't want it to have a back, because when I'm getting up after shower, the handles are in my way. Yes, and because I have to physically get up with my crutches when I'm in a seated position, I want to not mistakenly bump my crutches, my forearm against the arm of the chair, and with my body being partially wet or not, it could slide out and I could fall.
Oh my gosh, that's
So,
scary.
but some people are able to physically get, even get get into the shower, the step up into the shower, but then they don't use crutches, so they need the arms of the chair to be able to push them up. This is a bit more applicable maybe in people
Yeah.
in the elderly population, and somebody that might have like multiple sclerosis, where the physical manifestation of that is intermittent. Sometimes
Mm,
they have it and sometimes they don't. So just things like that. So really understanding what their needs are, and then making sure that the location has that.
yeah.
And part of me working with these locations would be I will want to see a picture. Please send me the picture
I
before
would,
yes, yes.
yeah, I would take it a step further, and this is just from my experience. I would ask them for your requirement to be a partner is I need a video walkthrough.
Definitely. Yes, that's
Because
what I'm
a
saying. Yes,
picture you can
yeah,
miss an angle, but in the video walkthrough I need, you
yes,
know head to toe, right? I need to
yes,
see the room,
yes,
because I
yes.
think that's going to go a long way. And I think, honestly, even to all of us hosts, having a video of your home, even if it's you're putting on
Hmm.
your QR code in, or even the Matterport, I think it's just very, very
Hmm.
important in those situations for it to let the user navigate and validate for themselves. Because
Hmm.
if you're anything like, if they're your user, or your customer is anything like you, they're gonna have trust issues because they've been burned before. So how do I make sure that this company is giving me that peace of mind? It's a walkthrough, it's a confirmation, a check mark. Who was the person who signed off on
Hmm.
behalf of the company, leaving you a note that this property was quality assured by so and so. I think
Exactly.
what I'm not even kidding when I say this. I think this is a huge opportunity, and like
Yes.
I can't wait to hear how big your company is gonna get. It's
Thank
gonna
you.
take
Thank you
work,
so much. It's
but
gonna
it's
take
gonna be
work.
it's
Yes.
gonna be
Yes.
it's
Yes.
so fulfilling, because I think you're
Yes.
giving an opportunity in life, right, to people who feel like, you know what, maybe that's just not for me anymore. And
Yeah. I mean.
that to me is,
Yeah.
I could shed a tear. Like, that is so powerful. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Like, that is
Yeah. I
deep.
mean. I mean, it's varied. It's really honestly varied. Like personally,
Mhm.
for me, for the longest, I wouldn't even if I went to a place and stayed like at a beach property, you could not find me anywhere the beach, like nowhere near the sand, nothing. Because with my crutches, it
Mhm.
sinks into the beach sand. So I think I don't know if I shared
You
this with
did
you or
you
something.
did tell
Okay.
me that, yeah.
So recently I found a company that they specialize, the owner of the company actually had polio, and that was how he started his company.
Wow. Wow.
So he makes crotch tips. He makes non-slip crotch tips, which again, if you on crutches and you fall down, it's disastrous. Like if you have a physical disability and you fall down, it's disastrous because the mechanism or the mechanics of getting up,
It's
it's
not
not
meant for
like,
you to be down.
yeah, exactly. It's not like how
Yeah.
you get up if you fall down at
Oh my
Walmart or whatever.
gosh.
It's a whole it's
Oh
a
my
whole
gosh.
setup. Yeah, it
That's
really
a
is.
part two episode.
Yeah, so but anyway,
Yeah.
I found that he makes this covering of the crotch tips. It's not the crotch tip, but something you can attach to the crotch tips with a wider base. It's almost like
Suction cup
what
or some kind?
no, it's almost like
Tire
the cleats. It's almost like cleats.
cleats.
Cleats, but it doesn't have the
Yeah.
spikes that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at least it has a different base. And when you walk on the beach with it, it doesn't your crutches does not sink into the sand. Yeah.
Wow. Full
He has
circle. That sounds like an open partnership ready to be made.
exactly. Yes,
Let's speak
yes,
that
yes.
into
And
existence.
he had polio. I just listened. So I've been his customer for crutch tips for the longest, and he
Wow.
recently sent out like a video of an interview he did for some museum, and he was just telling his story and how he got, he started his company because of his needs. Yeah.
That's
Hmm.
fascinating.
Yeah. So
Fascinating.
yeah.
Listen, you and I, as you know, in the entire, you know, because we're on the same wavelength, first of all, we got to stay connected. We could go on for hours. You know that.
Yes.
I've had a real blast hearing the backstory, hearing how you had to go deep, and then how you know, created freedom for yourself by going into the avenue that you went as a physician, and then now opening up a new avenue in real estate where you're able to see even more of yourself and say, how can I even solve a problem that's bigger than me? Because as I always say, it's not about you, it's about who loses if you don't win.
Exactly.
And you have this big mission, which I love what you said because it ties into the beginning of this. It's, you know, if you knew how hard it was, just like most natural human beings, you know, you're like looking back, I'm like, gosh, that was hard. Would I do that again? But I think what you're on right now, you're on the mission. And that's the beautiful thing, because if you're on a mission, you'll look back and be like, wow, if I were to do this again, golly, it wasn't easy, but it's going to be so worth it. And
Thank
it's
you.
going to be
Thank you.
something that you're going to enjoy, and many people are going to enjoy across the
Thank
world.
you.
And the beautiful thing is, you even starting at home, you even starting with the short-term rentals that you have today, like if you can change one life, change one experience at a time, you've done your job. And I know you're doing your job because that's what you're actively doing right now. And I
Hmm.
think you've enlightened a lot of us who are listening. So that right there, the job has already begun. So I want to thank you, Ifeoma, for coming
Thank
into the
you so
lab,
much. Thank
sharing
you.
all this wisdom and insight
Thank
and all of our
thank you.
blind
Thank
spots,
you.
because we're
Thank
continuously
you.
learning here in Experiment Nation. There was no other better person than to come from such a humbling uh, background, and yet you've done so much, and yet you're still here to continue to pour out of a glass that's completely full. And so, thank you for allowing us to share that
Thank
with
you
you. But
so
my
much.
goodness,
Thank you. Thank you, Ruben. I
absolutely.
am so honored and so grateful. And if I can even affect one person's life that, had not even thought about, that had given up on, vacation travel, it would have been so worth it, to be honest with you.
Oh, you will. We got a lot of
Yes.
listeners, and this podcast is only getting bigger and bigger. And with people like you, you're attracting the right people. So the right person's gonna listen to
Yes.
this. They're gonna have an impact. That's gonna be a domino effect. You're gonna have an impact, and for that, we are thrilled, and we are gonna continue to keep tabs on you. So one more time, it's
Vida Voyage is the name of the
Vida
company.
Voyage.
If someone wants to get in contact with me, my email is ifeoma.nnaji at vidavoyage.com. I'm still building out my website, but for now, my email is functional, ifeoma.nnaji at vidavoyage.com. So I can spell it out or I can type it out, type it out.
Oh, we'll have that
Um,
in the show notes for you. Don't you
okay,
worry.
Okay.
Vida Voyage. But just like that, Ifeoma came into the lab, and just like
Yeah.
that, we are out. Experimentation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Experimentation, podcasting has changed the way we operate as real estate investors ourselves, and it can do the same for you. Podcasting has been the source of the masterclasses that we get thanks to the world-class real estate investors and practitioners and specialists that come into the lab from all realms, from short-term rentals to mid-term rentals to real estate syndications to even software as a service. Owners, founders, entrepreneurs have helped enrich our experiments by giving us the education, helping us build a network, and lastly, and most importantly, a brand association to open up multiple doors for our respective businesses. If you understand the power that podcasting can have and you know that you need one for your brand, please, you can rely on our team. InvestedTalent.com is my team and the team that helps this podcast, the Real Estate Experiment, become the fruition each and every single week to educate my community, build relationships on the air, and continue to build our brand. If you know that you need to do the same for your brand and you haven't pulled the trigger yet, maybe because you don't know how, our company, InvestedTalent.com, does the end-to-end from the time that you record to the time that it is published to even repurposing content on multiple social media platforms. That's what my team can do for you. Simply go to InvestedTalent.com and book a discovery call to see how my team can help you launch your podcast.